What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk with you about how to win with people, because if you're an entrepreneur or you're a leader or you're someone that's just getting started in your career or you're just tired of not making the progress you want to make in your career, the one thing that could change everything and help you get to where you want to go is your ability to win with people. Let me tell you a quick story about where I first realized that this is the absolute most important thing you must develop. I was having lunch years and years and years ago with a very successful entrepreneur who took a company from the back of a napkin in a garage to 4 decades later being a global organization. He's got a $10 million private jet. I don't suggest that having a private jet is the only indicator of success, but it's an idea of the financial success his business had for him to be able to do that. And so I was having lunch with him, and as I do with everyone that I view as successful in one way, shape, or form that I want to learn from, I asked my favorite playful question, which is, what's the secret sauce? You've been so successful. What does it take to be as successful as you've been? And he was very thoughtful, and he hesitated a moment, just long enough as a hesitation so that he could be really thoughtful with his response to me, because as playful as I was in the way I asked, he knew I was serious. And he looked at me and he said, JJ, as high-tech and automated as my business becomes, and it's a very high-tech automated business, and as high-tech and automated as the world becomes, here's the key point: business is today and always will be about people. People are our most important resource. And that struck me so profoundly because it's something that I kind of knew, but it was the first time I'd heard it directly from someone that I admired and respected so much as a business builder. And the more I've studied really successful people, the more I've realized that the highest performing entrepreneurs and leaders on the face of the planet understand that this is the key. This is the thing that if you mastered this skill and you understand how to win with people, it can change everything. It can help you get to where you want to go, probably faster than by developing any other skill. And hang around with me to the end, because I think you're actually going to be surprised by number 4, because it's one that I've only recently realized is a really profound and powerful skill. By the way, if I didn't say it yet, I'm going to give you the 5 C's for winning with people. And the 4th C is one that's different than you've probably ever heard, and you might be surprised by it. And the 5th one is one that all high-level leaders and entrepreneurs understand is the best way to maximize what you can get from other people. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that helps other people tap into their greatest potential. So hang around, because all of them are key to your ability to win with people. The first one, it's going to seem obvious, but let me explain. Give me a chance to explain why I believe this is something you need to be focused on for winning with people. Number 1 is connect. You've got to be able to find a way in an instant to set a standard with someone for who you are, how you show up in the world. It's about your energy. And most people don't, they hear the cliche, first impressions are the most important, or you don't get a second chance for a first impression. And yet they don't do the work of figuring out, how do I actually truly connect powerfully and effectively and make a great first impression every time I meet someone? Even though we hear it again and again and again, it almost becomes white noise in the background because we've heard it so much and we never actually do anything with it. So you've got to start to ask yourself, what can I do to connect better with every single person I meet? Not just the people that I think are important to be connected to, but literally every person, because this has to become a habit. You have to be the kind of person that treats every person as the most important person you've ever met in your life in the moment that you're meeting that person. Because in the moment you're meeting that person is the most important person you've ever met in your life, because it matters most right then and there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you meet a random person in line at a coffee shop. It's more important than the time you met your spouse out and about 10 years ago and then got married, whatever. Like, my point though is every person you meet is incredibly important. We have to treat them as such, and that means we have to master our ability to connect with them, because whether you think they can quote unquote do something for you now or never, that person will give you the opportunity to train and condition yourself for how you show up with people when you first meet them. So you have to be able to connect with people, and there's so many things. I'm not going to get into the subcategories and subtips of every single one of these. I want to give you the high level, because I believe a lot of this stuff is stuff you can find, and I'll make follow-up videos on it. But I want to give you the high-level framework, because I think if you have this high-level framework, it truly can be a great starting point and a track to run on for your ability to win with people. But I will tell you very quickly, I believe your energy matters more than anything. The energy you show up with when you meet someone matters more than anything. Energy is everything. It's the way people perceive you, and it's the way people remember you. Maya Angelou once said, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. People feel your energy. Your energy is a thing people actually feel. Now you might say, well, JJ, how do I have the right energy to show up with the right people? The truth is, everybody's going to have their own different, unique energy. Kinds, qualities, intensities, characteristics to your energy. It's going to be based on your mindset, your belief, your philosophies, how you show up, your actual physical fitness, health, and vitality. All of those things matter, and all of those things mix together to create the recipe of your output of your energy. What I can tell you is you've got to start working on your energy so you can show up in a way that gets people to be impressed with an energy that makes them attracted to you. I don't mean impressing like, wow, you're so amazing, but they're impressed by how significant and profound your unique energy is every time you show up. I'll make other videos on energy. I've made other videos on energy or other podcasts on energy. I'll do that again in the future. But let's move on to number 2, which is going to sound simple, but again, it's a thing that you got to make sure you're mastering. Collaborate. You know, the thing is, so many people think that winning with people is just about like, how do I influence people? How do I get people to do what I want them to do? And yes, to an extent, persuasion and influence in that sense is important. What's even more important is to make connection through collaboration. You'll see that I've ordered these in a very particular sequence for that reason, because collaboration comes once you have the connection. And once you start to collaborate with people, you actually build a stronger connection. Have you ever been in a team environment, a group of people doing anything? By the time you're done with that project at school or at work, or you're on a team that's making progress and working hard together, when you collaborate, you feel more connected. If you feel more connected, you can collaborate more effectively, and it becomes this virtuous cycle that keeps feeding one another. But you've got to find a way to be collaborative, not always directive. Sometimes you got to step up and say, hey, we need you to do this, we need you to do that, and we need to go here and do that thing. Sometimes that's what leadership requires in certain situations or seasons of life or business. But very often we got to figure out, how can I just be more collaborative with the people that are on my team? The third C. This is a hard one for a lot of people, and I'll explain why in a second. Clarify. Let me clarify what I mean by this. You and I can look at the same exact situation or experience the same exact situation and interpret it completely differently. This is not new news. This happens all the time. In fact, we can look at the same exact word that has a concrete definition and have completely different perspectives on it. An example I've given many, many times in different speeches and presentations I've given that I've done, I've asked these groups, I'm like, when you hear the word snow, what do you think? What do you think? What do you feel? And I'll get answers anywhere from, oh, joy and delight and hot chocolate and warm, cozy by the fire. Like, people love it and they hear snow and they have such good feelings and they have a particular picture and vision in their mind of what it means when they hear the word snow. Other people hear the word snow and they've said things like hell. I'm like, okay, so like terrible feelings apparently about snow. And so what do you think and feel when you hear the word snow? It might be very different than what I think and feel when I hear the word snow. My point in that is we can look at the same thing, have the same exact word in front of us, and think and feel very different things. So if we're communicating with others and you're trying to win with people, you better make sure you understand with total clarity how that person sees the world. You don't have to agree with how that person sees the world, but you have to have clarity with how that person sees the world, number one. Number two, you have to communicate with complete and total clarity with how you see the world and the vision you have for where you want to go. If you're a leader, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a manager, if you're trying to move and motivate people, you got to work to have total clarity. Because if two people think they're on the same page, but they're not, that's the worst place to be. That's a terrible place to be. What's better is to be on different pages, but know you're on different pages. And that's where most people are. They're like, okay, I know we're not totally clear on this, and I know we're not totally clear on this. Let's get clear on this, because as soon as you can start to develop that clarity, you're in a better position to collaborate more effectively, to be connected, and to actually make progress towards the ultimate goals that you're trying to accomplish. Now, number 4, this is the one that I think you're going to be a little shocked by. And I have been, but I've come to realize like this is a deficit that I have personally that I've got to work on. So I've typically been a people pleaser. Historically, I've been a people pleaser. And I say historically because I'm trying to rid myself of labeling myself and identifying as a people pleaser. But in the past, I've had, let's say, people-pleasing tendencies. What I've realized is one of the most important skills to win with people is to confront. You've got to have the ability to confront. What I'd call it is, and I don't know, maybe people have made this term up already. I have no idea. It just came to my head. CQ, or confrontation quotient. What's your ability to step into a confrontational situation, Not in the sense of like being mean or degrading or demanding, but in the way of like, hey, there's something here. Confront is the core word of confrontation. So confrontation might have negative connotations to you, but the truth is confront simply means to step up, look at something as it is, as a challenge or an issue or an obstacle with another human and say, what do we need to do to overcome this? And you've got to be willing to have the conversation with someone. The hard conversations that I've heard Andy Frisella say are not difficult or challenging or tough conversations. They're productive, and they're productive because until you're able and willing to step up and confront other humans, you cannot win with people, because if you are just trying to appease and please every person you meet, you will never gain true respect and admiration from other people who observe you just being a people pleaser. For example, I even heard Gary Vaynerchuk, who you might be familiar with, has a huge company, well over 300 million of annual revenue, thousands of employees around the world. And I've heard him on a podcast episode before talk about how he's been such a people pleaser that at times he would see someone in his organization be like, hey, yeah, you're doing such a good job. And like, give them literally pats on the back saying you're doing a good job. And like a week or two later, somebody else, a manager, maybe not him directly, but a manager had to fire that person for lack of performance. So he's like, dude, I felt so bad, but like, that's just how I am. I want to tell people good job and be encouraging, even if they're not necessarily doing a good job. And he self-admittedly said, I got to get better at that. He's like, I'm not good with confrontation, but I must get better at it. And if you want to be a great leader and you want to win with people, then you have to get comfortable with confrontation. If today you find yourself having people-pleasing tendencies, start by reminding yourself they are simply tendencies that you can change. You can change your behavior because you can change the way you see yourself and the way you label yourself. Just like I did, I no longer label myself as a people pleaser. I historically had tendencies of people pleasing, but no longer. But the fifth and final one that you've got to be able to do is challenge. You got to be willing and able to challenge people, because if you don't challenge people to push them to be their very best, then you're holding them and you and the team and the group back from tapping into your fullest potential. So do these 5 things. And if you enjoy this podcast, subscribe so you never miss an episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found tremendous value, share it with a friend, family member, colleague, somebody else that you know wants to win with people. Again, subscribe, come back for more, friend, whatever you're going after. Be your very best. Just keep going. Look forward to talking with you next time.